swanky day, everyone. So today we're going to look at patterns with inverted minor chords on the treble and bass clef. So basically, as you can see here, these are our inverted chords, the first inverted chords with the sharps, and then the second with sharps, and then the first inverted chord with flats, and the second inverted chord with flats for the minor chords. So just like red, white, and blue with the first, second, and third prize, you know, first being red, second being blue. You can think of it that way. So anyways, we're going to look at 4 patterns today. So basically the first pattern would be that the first inversion, as shown here, of a minor chord with sharps in it on the bass clef turned upside down equals the second inversion of a minor chord with the same number of flats in it on the treble clef, as you can see here, right? And then the second pattern would be the first inversion of a minor chord with flats in it, as shown here on the bass clef, equals the second inversion of a minor chord with the same number of sharps in its key signature on the treble clef, turned upside down. So right there would be your pattern, right? And then the third pattern would be, as if that's not twisted enough. All right, so the third pattern would be that the first inversion of a minor chord with sharps in it, right there, on the treble clef, equals the second inversion of a minor chord with the same number of flats in its key signature on the bass clef turned upside down, right? And that would be the second inversion. And then last but not least, we have the first inversion of a minor chord with flats in it on the treble clef turned upside down and read on the bass clef would equal the second inversion of the minor chord with the same number of sharps in its key signature. So, and then that would be our pattern right there. So those are our patterns, as you can see, for all the chords. So let's do a few examples with just a few specific ones, because that might be confusing for a lot of people. So for the first pattern, the first inverted version of a minor chord with sharps. So let's do 3 sharps, right? Or F sharp minor, the first inversion. So that would be A, C sharp, and F sharp on the bass clef. So A, C sharp, and F sharp, right? And we have our 3 sharps, F, C, and then G spot sharp. Okay, for our 3 sharps, right? So A, C sharp, and F sharp. So if we were to turn this around upside down, it should equal the second inversion of a minor chord with 3 flats in it on the treble clef, right? So B flat, E flat, and A flat. So the second inversion with 3 flats would be G, C, and E flat, right? So let's see if this holds true. All right. So G, C, and E flat. Yes, it does. So there you have it. All right. And let's do another example. Hold on. Okay, so now let's do G minor, or the minor chord with 2 flats in it for the first inversion, since second pattern would be the first inversion of a minor chord with flats in it on the bass clef. So G minor with 2 flats would be B flat, and D, and then G, right? On the bass clef. So B flat, D, and G minor for the first inversion. And if we turn it around to read it upside down, it should be the inverted minor chord with 2 sharps, the second inversion of the minor chord with 2 sharps on the treble clef, right? So F sharp and then C sharp. So let's check our outer. The one with two sharps, the second inversion. So F sharp, B, and D. So check it out. F sharp, B, and D. So that also holds true for this example, right? Now let's do a third example for the third pattern. Okay. So now for the third example. So the first inversion of a minor chord with sharps in it on the treble clef equals the second inversion of a minor chord with flats on the bass clef turned upside down with the same number of flats. That is the second inversion of such. So let's do one sharp or E minor, the first inversion of E minor, which would be G, B, and E on the treble clef. G, B, and then E minor, right, on the treble clef for one sharp. It's my ghetto sharp, right? So if we were to, okay, so G, B, and E, right, for minor. So if we were to turn it around and read it on the bass clef with one flat in its key signature, we should get the second inversion of the minor chord with one flat. So the second inversion with one flat would be A, D, F, right, on the bass clef. And check it out, A, D, and F minor for our one flat. So that also holds true. And now one last example. Okay, so finally for our last example, or pattern, the first inversion of a minor chord with flats. So we're going to do 4 flats for the C minor chord on the treble clef equals the second inversion of the minor chord with the same number of sharps, which would be 4 sharps on the bass clef turned upside down. So basically, the first inversion with 4 flats, right, would be A flat, C, and F. So A flat, C, and F, right? And if we were to turn it around to read it upside down on the bass clef with 4 sharps, so F sharp, C sharp, G spot sharp, and then D sharp, right? So we're just going to change that, obviously, to the sharps. So the second inversion of the minor chord with 4 sharps, G sharp, G sharp, C sharp, and E. So G sharp, C sharp, and E should be our notes for this one, right? And check it out, G sharp, C sharp, and E for our minor chord with 4 sharps. So there you have it, folks. Those are our 4 patterns for the minor chords being read inverted upside down on the bass and treble clef. And as you can see here, they're written out. Or can you really see? I don't know. It's a little blurry, isn't it? Hold still. So those would be our patterns right there that I wrote out for today's lesson mobile. And yeah, have a snazzy dandy wandy one.